Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Seattle Wala, where we are going to be meeting another gem from Seattle. We're going to be meeting the 2022's 33rd Mrs. Asia USA, Mrs. MEENU Gupta. I know you all have a lot of questions for her, so without further ado, let's meet her. Hi, Mrs. MEENU Gupta. How are you?
I'm great, Bhanu. Thank you so much, and it's such a pleasure to talk to you today, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
We are humbled and very happy to have you here. I have to start this interview with the very first question because this is the theme of International Women's Day this year. It's Break the Bias. Now, with you winning the title as Mrs. Asia USA, you've brought this dream of being a beauty queen so much more closer to a lot of, household women, if you will. So the bias generally is that once you're married, you kind of have to take care of the household and the husband brings in the dough. What did you do to break this bias and put yourself on this path?
Absolutely. First of all, this is such a great question, and I wanted to congratulate you for that, for asking this question. So it goes back to my childhood. Seeing my own mom being dependent on my father for financial needs as well as for decision making, and other female figures in my family, soon I realized during my teen that this is not the life I'm going to live. And coming to 21st century, this is not an era where they are providers and women, they are caretakers. I think it's about equality, and something that I lead with is the women should have financial independence. So after my studies, came to the US for higher studies, and I got the job. And getting into pageant is not about being a queen or being a model. It's about being a role model, or sharing my experiences with those women that are there and they wanted to empower themselves, but they don't have the resources out there. So breaking the bias for me is really bringing the equality, leadership for women, as well as owning your own decision. And when you own your own decision and embrace the right, I think that for me is the real empowerment. So thank you.
That was a very empowering response. So I know we're going to cover another part of this interview where we will be looking at some of your talents, but let's just talk about time management in general. You're working full time, you have some other commitments, you also have a family, your kids are young. How does all this work out for you?
That's a core, right? So we all have 24 hours in our day, including the night, and it's all about prioritization. So time management is big in my life. I work 10 hours for Microsoft as a gaming leader, then I'm a mother, and then embracing this crown, it comes with a responsibility. So a lot of community work that I do. So I constantly prioritize. My day starts with a schedule and I follow that. And if it's my family time, my kids' time, being a mother or being a homemaker, I dedicate that time to that part of the thing. But something that worked in my case is some of the unnatural situation that I squeeze myself in and have that time. So for instance, if I'm going for my nails, I would invite my husband or my kids and do pedicures with me so we can be bonding as well as I can do my stuff. Or if I'm going for a fashion show to a different country or city, I turn that as a family vacation. So we are together having bonding time. At the same time, I can do other things. So that's my mantra. How do you squeeze family time into some of the things you do and just create a balance there?
You're sounding as busy as the president. Amazing. So in all of this, one of the things that is very core to Indian upbringing in general is that it takes a village to raise a child.
Absolutely.
It's not something that you can do on your own. So as a mother, I'm sure there are lots of people in your family who are supporting you for this. So do you want to talk a bit more about how you're balancing your time with them? Because with the work-life balance that women tend to get into, that's the first place that they are feeling guilty about, because they're like, am I leaving my family behind in trying to pursue what I want? So do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that guilt we carry as a woman, as a mother. So huge thank you, first of all, to my husband. He's a rock solid support in my life. So when I was going and preparing for pageant, I shared my desire, my mission, that what I want to accomplish, and there it goes. He just told me immediately, follow your dreams and I'll be here to support you. So as an example, my pageant happened in California and I had to travel a lot for that. He would stay home with kids and take care of them, and make it look so easy for me to not even think about that side of the family life that I have, and that brought in so much support. So one advice I will give to all other mothers who are aspiring queens, that leverage every single thing in your life around you to bring and optimize them to bring balance in your life. So it could be your family, it could be your friends, extended family, and people. I always call my mother, my in-laws on the phone, get support. It's not sometimes just physical support. You also need moral support, emotional support. So it all counts, and you're right, it's a village that I had that behind me to help me where I am today. So yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. And you touched on different aspects that women need as well, right? It's not just about monetary support. We need emotional support,
Yes.
mental support. And I'm hoping that it brings a lot more awareness to our viewers as well. The other thing that I really liked is usually they say that there's a woman behind a man's success, right? But here you've
Yes.
got a very loving husband
Yes.
behind your great success as well.
Absolutely, yes, yes.
Now, coming to the fun side of your family as well, how do your kids view your popularity and you being a beauty queen?
So my younger one, who's a 6-year-old, I feel like she does not have much sense, but she enjoys me wearing the crown, doing interviews, and I bring her to my fashion shows and inspiring her too, and she enjoys it. But my son, who's 9, I think he's a lot more mature, he loves it, and he says, "Mommy, I love the way you're taking care of yourself, and you take care of me and Idaya, like my daughter and my son, and then you take care of the other things that you do, and I'm super happy for you." So just having that unconditional love coming from them and that raw innocence, it just makes my day sometimes, having those comments. And you won't believe this, but when I was preparing for my pageant, these 2 kiddos would see me practice my walk, and they would say, "Mommy, no, do it this way, do it that way," as if they know everything. But those were very cute little moments that I have shared during my journey.
This innocence is what we live for, right? That's
Absolutely,
amazing.
yes.
Let's pivot to the competition itself. It's a highly organized event. You had a lot of sponsors coming in, a lot of different people who are putting the ropes together so that the final event is a success.
Yeah.
What was your experience like when you looked at all these things? Because as you said, you're not necessarily coming from a modeling background.
Yes,
like that's
yeah.
not your family
Yeah.
background. So this must have been quite new for you. So how did you feel in that entire process?
Yeah, no, I still remember day one as I walked into the room and I had 60 delegates from different countries. I was extremely nervous because I don't have modeling background, and working at Microsoft before that, T-Mobile, so sort of I was more like a geek person. So it was daunting. But I told myself that, okay, if I don't have any chances to win, but what's the other side of, maybe look at the glass, maybe half full, that, you know what, whatever happens, I'll learn something here. And I did learn a lot. So the experience was something really empowering. When I started interacting with all the delegates coming from different countries, they have their own story. And you feel like, actually, you feel inspired by listening to their stories. Some are getting through divorce. Some have handicapped kids at home. Some are going through rough time financially. Some are emotionally broke down. Some have some mental issues. And they are all coming to this platform really to empower themselves and others. And that was very uplifting for me. And soon you will realize that there's no real competition. It's really supporting each other. And at the end, you just learn together. And something which is, in my mind, is very unique about pageantry is that no matter what you do, win or lose, everybody wins at the end, because through this platform you bring so much networking, you learn, and you leverage it to the mission and the vision that you're after. So I've seen many delegates and queens who were runner-ups or did not win, but they are doing amazing in their career, in their lives, and that is the real empowerment of being in the pageant.
So it basically helps everyone become a beauty queen through the process.
Exactly,
Right?
yeah. You need to feel you're a queen no matter what, and that's the way you should see yourself growing, flourishing, and evolving.
Wonderful answer. As a follow-up to that, I saw some of your other interviews as well, and one thing you mentioned was great message to everybody, and I think it's worth repeating that on this platform too, simply because it's good. You cannot repeat good things enough, right? So one of your responses was how you intended to use this platform going forward. So I really want our viewers to hear it one more time and make it, resonate to say that this is how you intend to use the platform. So if you can share that for us.
Absolutely, yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, that I have not seen leadership in my own household growing up. My mom being dependent on my dad for a lot of things. So, something I want to lead with is the leadership. That young girls, or no matter which age group you're from, embrace the leadership. And leadership really means not that you have to be a corporate woman and being a CEO of a company. It really means owning your decisions and having the right to do things that you like to do, whether it's choosing a partner, studies, going to a country to visit, or simply wearing what you want to wear, or body empowerment. So something I want to leverage this platform is inculcate leadership in young women, as well as making girls and women aware about women abuse. Something I've seen in India is a subtle abuse that women and girl and any other age group women, they don't realize. Sometimes I have seen women are okay to be slapped. They think it's normal, but that's not acceptable. Or emotional abuse, or not being able to express yourself, or being suppressed, that is also kind of an abuse. So these are the two things I really wanted to leverage this platform to make these girls and women aware that it's not okay to keep shut. It's okay to raise your voice and express yourself to the full of your capability and optimize best of your potential for whatever you do in your life.
That was very empowering, and I got some goosebumps there. But going on to the same thing, the theme of using this platform, I think one of the things you mentioned growing up was that you had darker color, skin color, and people used to, discriminate you based on that. And of course, very unkind things that people say because of that. So even though in the West we have seen such a revolution coming up about colorism, about racism, and so on and so forth, we yell at others for being racist towards us. Yet when we go back home, it's so simple for us to pick up, a Fair and Lovely, cream or something, to throw it or give it to someone and say, you should use this, and kind of put them down about those things. How did, going through this pageantry and the whole process of becoming a beauty queen change your perspective about yourself? Because before we try to heal the world, we need to heal ourselves.
Yes.
So how did you do that on your side?
Yeah, this is very close to my heart, this question, so thank you. Growing up, like I mentioned, I was a dark-skinned girl, and at least I didn't believe I was pretty. So I used to actually crave for attention from outside, from boys in my teen, and that never happened. So when I came to the US, I got a compliment on my brown skin for the very first time, and I remember I used to work for Amazon. I felt very different about that whole thing, and then slowly, this is something I have learned out of my own career and my life, is that confidence is really mightier than makeup. Confidence, if you wear confidence, you automatically look beautiful. So I remember during my undergrad, my English was not very well. I didn't feel I was pretty. So I used to practice. And when I say practice, fake it until you make it. So I used to practice in front of mirror, my presentation. I would leverage my friends who were from English medium schools to practice more and more. So coming to the stage, practicing, preparing myself for that stage platform, or even being presentable. That helped me a lot, and soon I realized it's really the confidence that makes you look beautiful. So today, through this platform, I would just say that wear confidence, and trust me, every single young girl out there in the universe should be taught to believe that you are beautiful the way you are, and just be yourself and be confident about that. And that's how I learned that no matter what happens, however you look, grooming is one thing, but doing things with confidence adds so much to your beauty, and that is powerful.
It's such a simple thing to be yourself, and yet it's the toughest thing to be, right?
Yes, yeah,
So well said. The next thing I want to talk about is in one of your interviews, another great quote that you say. I always tell people, if you want something, you have to ask. There's a 50% chance it's going to be yes, and 50% it's going to be no. But in your previous interview, you called it the power of asking, and you also changed the probabilities. It's like 80% yes and 20% no. So tell us a bit more about that. That was so empowering. So I wanted to hear that from you again.
Yeah. So during my pageant, there was a format that you have to bring some sponsors to the pageant. So it was a daunting task because I did not have a lot of networking. So I just thought, let me just go out there and ask for it. You know, let's see what happens. There could be a chance that they will say no, but what if there is a probability that they will say yes? So I started off with my very close circle, and to my surprise, 90% of the people said yes. They said, Meenu, we believe in you for what you're doing and why you're doing, and for that reason, we are here to support you. And then from that circle, I went outwards. I went to those people that I don't know, and to my surprise, that percentage became 80%. And I was so thrilled that then I realized that yes, there is a power in asking, especially when you being yourself and tell them the truth about your mission. Why? Like, there has to be a rationale behind what you're doing. And in my mind, that was very empowering for me to just go out there and ask and see how people come and support you. So it's just all about exposing yourself and exploring, and the universe really conspires for that. So thank you.
Yes. You have basically given us a case study for networking and why it works,
yes,
right?
Why it
So
works,
human
yeah.
relationships are so important. Now, Miss Congeniality was something like, it was a Hollywood movie that brought some very interesting aspects of pageantry to light. And we all enjoyed it. And luckily for Sandra Bullock in the movie, she had, you know, the cops pull out the best people, the best team, coaches and mentors.
Yeah.
But obviously with yourself, you started from scratch and you didn't have a backing in the modeling industry per se. So how did you go about choosing the right people for your brand and how you wanted to look and present yourself?
Yeah. So in my case, I don't know, maybe it's a blessing that people that came in my life, they were very helpful, and my mantra is not picking and choosing, but whatever comes my way, learning from it. So my very first coach here in Seattle was Meena Rocks. She's the one who introduced me to Pageant. And then after that in California, so that was video conferencing because COVID was happening that time. And after that, I met Javier Ortega, Didi Candela and Raquel, and they all taught me in person. And every step I'm learning and exploring and becoming a better version of myself, whether it's my personality, my walk, my poses, or anything that I'm doing. At the same time, then I got exposed to amazing designers. So my way or my style is to rely on experts. And when you do that, you build trust. And trust me, it becomes something so amazing that you cannot believe yourself that you have created something like that. So I think I was blessed that people came my way. They were amazing, and I was able to learn. And I'm still learning, and I'll continue to learn. Like, there is no stopping in my life that I would ever stop, whether it's my corporate life or my pageant life or my personal life.
Wonderful, wonderfully said. And I think it really speaks to you being a lifelong learner, right? And that's what keeps you confident. That's what keeps you motivated to keep going with life. Now, speaking about creativity, that was another piece that I wanted to talk to you about. You know, creative designing and working in creative side is a bit hard because people come in with their own way of, you know, we were talking about photography before this interview started even. We were saying that certain photographers have a style of doing things, and you have a certain brand that you have to represent as the beauty queen. So where did you get that idea about fine balance between the two, where there's sufficient expertise coming from them, but at the same time, there's a little bit of you in what's being created. Yeah. So how do you do that balancing act?
Like I said, I truly believe in trust system and trusting people that around me and that are expert. One person can do so much, but I think a team can accomplish the trophy or the goal or the mission or the dream. So in my case, for my national costume, when I was doing my pageant, these 5 girls in India, they were my undergrad friends. They teamed up together and they created. And one of them, she was like the designer in India. Another one, my own undergrad friend, Shweta Singh Tomar, and another one, I think Amor is her brand's name. They teamed up, they created it, and same thing in the US. For my evening gown, my designer in California, he just said, Meenu, this is what I have in my mind for you, and I said, go for it. So most of the time, I think it was just yes, like I didn't have to do anything because they were all expert, and at the end, it's really about how you pull it together. How do you style it? So I blindly trusted on the team, and eventually it just created something unbelievable for me. So
I had a follow-up question on
yes.
one of the topics. So your Indian costume, again, we all want to see how India is represented on the stage, and everyone has an idea of the costume. And you know, India being so diverse, you can never really say this is the national costume of India because we're all so varied. And then you add in the Western influences and all the other influences that came in. So what did you feel when you looked at that Indian costume, and did you contribute in any way in terms of how it was is built and how that was incorporated in that whole process?
Yeah. So when we were brainstorming about my national costume, initially some ideas came where we thought maybe let's focus on the aesthetic, that it looks massive, dramatic. But my mind was going more into a theme where we can showcase womanhood, we can showcase heroism, we can showcase the core of India. And after brainstorming with my friends and my designers, we chose Padmavati and Jauhar as my national costume. And the reason I chose that to showcase the leadership, the heroism of Padmavati, and really the womanhood that she has shared with the world, that this is India, this is the power of women that any woman can accomplish. And that was for her to save her honor, that Jauhar Act she did. And for me, that was powerful. So that's the reason I decided. And I think it was very well represented, the power of India, the power of women on that stage.
Great. And going on the creative side again, you went viral recently for something that you did. Now, you know, we were talking about this before, and you said there's a lot of indigenous representation in this as well. But what spurred you to come up with this mehendi blouse?
Yeah.
And tell us more about that.
Absolutely. So there's a story behind it. And like I said, that I always trust people. So one of my very good friends, her name is Sujata Jain, and she leads a beautiful line called Creative Arts by Jain. She said, Meenu, you're going for this pageant, let's do something different. She said, I wanted to create this henna blouse on you. And when I researched online, I found that henna is been there for thousands and thousands years ago in Indian history, as well as in Middle East too. And that time, women used to do henna on their body to make them look beautiful. Also to calm down the heat also, based on the climate you are. So when she introduced this idea, I immediately fell in love. But that time I was doing a lot of shoots, I was traveling. I just did not have time. Somehow I squeezed the time one day because I had to work with my makeup person, photographer, henna artist. That took like good 4 hours to do it. And somehow we did that, and we found that within a week it was being talked about in all social platforms. And then I realized that this is something, it's very elegant. There was a lot of negative comments too, but my take on that was that do whatever you feel comfortable with. So this is something I have done for myself, not for others. And I felt extremely elegant wearing that henna blouse, and I just thought that anybody can do it if you feel comfortable, and that goes back to the body empowerment too. So it was all my friend's idea that I embraced, and at the end, teamwork created as just a new thing in the world.
And I think you brought awareness to some of our historical fashion as well,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Like back in the day, we never had a blouse.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
You know, it was a different kind of attire, and people don't realize that what we wear today is an evolution of things, not you know, the thing that happened at that point in time. So kudos to you for mustering up the courage on that. Now, the pageantry itself, obviously, like you said, you know, it took a village for you to come forward and then help you out and bring you where you are today. Would you like to mention thanks to anyone through this program today?
So if I start my thank you list, I think it'll take the entire day because there are so many people, but a few I would like to name, starting with my own husband, Vishal Gupta. He's been a rock solid support from day one, since the time we are married, and rock solid support, I would say 360 personality to help me where I am today on my corporate journey, personal journey, and my pageantry. But other than that, I would also like to mention all the sponsors from Seattle and across US and India, my designers in India and in the US, my makeup artist, my coaches, all my coaches here in Seattle as well as across the US in different parts, and my friends and family who flew into California to support my pageant, my parents, my in-laws, my own nanny. She was there 24/7 to help me, Lupita and Metzli, my kids, and everybody who's close, if I'm not mentioning your name because of the lack of time, but trust me, I deeply wanted to say thank you to you and anybody who has supported me in any capacity, in any form. Thank you so much for your help.
That was very nice of you. Thank you. What would you like to be remembered as when people think of the 33rd Mrs. Asia USA, Mrs. MEENU Gupta? What is that lasting impression that you want to leave with people?
Yeah, I would say, you know what, if you have a little bit desire, passion, fire, talent, just jump into it. Don't think that you have anything to lose. You have nothing to lose but to gain. So something that I want to leave behind is, again, embrace the leadership, jump into it. Trust me, the universe and the divine will conspire for you and things will start happening. Day one is like camera, right? You zoom in and you try to fix the resolution. So initially it's vague, but soon as you start to zoom in and zoom out, you find that resolution. Same thing applies to you. Initially, you may think it's daunting to do something new, but as you approach every single day, you will see that how things starts to fall in place for you. So that's the only thing I would say, that embrace the leadership and take that leap of faith and go for it.
I felt like a beautiful Yoda just joined us in the room, giving us life lessons. Now let's pivot a little bit outside of your modeling and your beauty queen work as well. Obviously, you wear a lot of other hats. We talked about that when we were talking about time management. So tell us a bit more about that part of your life. What do you do when you're not modeling?
Yeah, no, I do a lot of things when I'm not modeling. I cook at home as a homemaker, and I feel like that's a stress buster for me. I spend time with my kids, take them to activities outside, at home. I do my own family time with my family, husband. I'm also corporate women, so when I'm working, that's the only thing I do. I'm very focused. Whatever I do with the full focus. I don't distract into multiple things at a time. And that time management, that focus helps me stay in that zone. So I think the only thing, as I'm doing it, I'm learning too. And that learning is really about your mindset. Sometimes you may feel like, oh, I'm tired, or hey, I'm ready to give in or give up for certain things. But having that mindset helps you a lot to lift you back, that you know what, it's okay to take a break sometimes. It's okay to take a break from work, from family life, or from being a queen sometimes and being just a normal person, and then lift yourself and go back to it. So that's how I find the balance in my own life, and with constant learning, I'm here to constantly marching towards it.
Yeah, wonderful. And one more thing I wanted to add, I think you have a lot of community involvement as well. So it's not just about corporate and model, but the community involvement aspect as well, if you want to share a bit more on that front.
That is very close to my heart. So like I mentioned, that I have seen women abuse in my own family as I was growing up, extended family, extenses and whatnot. And I know I could not do anything that time. But now that I'm independent and I know that I can do much, so I'm involved with a lot of organizations right now, especially against women abuse and trafficking. So to name a few, I'm closely right now planning to work with Mighty Nepal in Nepal against women trafficking and abuse. Another organization is Himalayan Children in Nepal. Asha Foundation is another one, and Pratham in India for child education. For me, it's really the foundation that you build a child with, and once that foundation is solid, whether boy or a girl, abuse can happen to anyone, by the way. That foundation is solid, you really are ready to face the world. So those are some causes that I'm leading with, and I'm helping these NGOs through motivational speaking, through fundraising, through activities, through visiting, and also by mentoring for career. Because I'm from a technology company, so I mentor women in technology, but I also mentor young girls and boys for their career. So that is sort of my community work, and I'll continue to embrace that no matter what happens, and it is very satisfying, and it brings a lot of content in your own life. So
it's a heavy topic to talk about, but
is,
you've done great work in terms of involving yourself, and I'm sure that's going to be bringing more awareness to people too. Let's switch over to something sweet. We know that you sing and dance. We've seen your dance video as part of the pageantry itself, but would you like to sing a little bit for our viewers as well?
Okay, so I'll choose, I'm a huge fan of late Jagjit Singh Ji. So I'll sing a few lines of a ghazal, which is very close to my heart. अब अगर आओ तो जाने के लिए मत आना, सिर्फ एहसान जताने के लिए मत आना, अब अगर आओ तो जाने के लिए मत आना, मैंने पलकों पे तमन्नाएं सजा रखी है, दिल में उम्मीदों की 100 शम्में जला रखी है, ये हंसी शम्में बुझाने के लिए मत आना, अब अगर आओ तो जाने के लिए मत आना, मत आना, मत आना.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you. Last question that we have for you today is, what is next for Mrs. MEENU Gupta?
Yeah, that's a loaded one. So right now, I really wanted to do community service and charity. As a young child, as a teen, yes, I was not empowered to do things for my community, especially for India and other countries in Asia and probably around the globe at some point. So I'll continue to do this charity work against women abuse and trafficking and child education. But at the same time, I have a dream to go to Mrs. Universe. So I've been accepted for that. Pageant will happen next year in Philippines. And I'm extremely excited to go to that next level in my pageant journey. And that's one dream I have. And that also the reason why, so that I can amplify my voice, my mission, my vision, and the execution of my projects through that massive global platform. So yes, that's my next step.
Thank you so much, MEENU. I know it was a loaded question, but you gave us a loaded answer too. That's a lot to look forward to, and we truly wish you from our heart all the best to win that title and bring it back to us.
Oh, thank you so much, Pani, from core of my heart. Thank you.
So we spoke about so many different things, serious albeit, but these are things that were close to your heart and very passionate things that you've done. But I want to see a bit of your fun side too. So can you show me how you do that walk on the ramp?
Oh my gosh, I would love to, Bhanu.
Awesome.
Come on here. Absolutely. Right hand up, left hand on the waist, and go. Okay. Right, 1, 2, 3. Left, 1, 2, 3. Center, 1, 2, 3, and pivot and
this entire interview, which was, great for me and for our audience as well. But I've prepared a few fun questions as well, our rapid fire round, and I want you to give the best answer, right? So one word answer would be good, but if you want to explain, I'm sure our audience is going to be happy. So the first one is, what's your favorite chaat item?
Pani puri.
Oh, nice. A Bollywood role that you would have loved to play?
That was done by Priyanka Chopra in Saat Khoon Maaf, and the reason, because it was a multifaceted perspective about her personality and just caught my attention.
Okay. Your favorite travel destination as a tourist?
I would say Brazil. And the reason why, people just live for the day, so much positive vibe. and just I feel like there's a happiness around everywhere.
Yes, okay. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. If there's one person that you would like to meet from the past, who would that be?
That would be Martin Luther King Jr. And the reason why, for his leadership and compassion.
Okay. What's your favorite role in life? Daughter, mother, or wife?
So this is a hard one. I would say all roles, they have their own uniqueness, but one role that has made me a better person is being a mother. Being a mother, you get feedback from your own kids, and then you see yourself from a different perspective. And I feel like I evolve every day being a mother, and I learned so much about myself, and I'm blessed to have two incredible kiddos in my life.
Do they also say the darnest things?
No. So like, I'll give you an example. My daughter, who's very straightforward person, and I was trying this jumpsuit one time, and I asked her, how do I look? And she goes, you look like old McDonald, mommy. And said, yeah, thank you. While my son, who would say things like that touches my heart, that you look incredible, mommy, and whatnot. But these things kind of create, it makes your life very interesting and full of different flavors and spices. So I enjoy every moment of that.
Wonderful. What is the one thing in your purse that you would never leave the house with?
My phone.
Okay.
And mint.
Wonderful. That was the end of our rapid fire round. So thank you so much for being sportive.
Oh, thank you so much, Banu. It's such a pleasure to talk to.
Likewise. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Seattle Wala. We'll be back soon with another gem from Seattle.